Now I'll show you how to put together these little owls. I think you'll have a lot of fun with this pattern. They are just so cute. To do the leaves, we've put a paper pattern on top of 2 pieces of fabric, right side together, thin polyester bottom batting, which is optional. If you don't want the thickness, it's fine to do it without the batting. Then we'll sew with a smaller stitch length on the solid line, cut on the dashed line, including down the middle, and then take the paper out, turn it right side out and press them. And then I like to just do a little basting to put them together so that they won't slip in the seam when we're putting them in the seam. And then when they're in the seam, they open up and just make cute little dimension. Now I'll show you how to make this eye section with the beak and the eyes. Take a piece of white fabric, put it on top of thin polyester bottom batting. Then we take, the dimensions are in the pattern, piece of fabric, wrong sides together, folded, and place it across that area. Then I take a piece of colored fabric on top of that. Then the paper pattern I'll put on there and align this dashed line with the edge of the fold. And then I'll sew all the way around on that solid line. I'll slit the back 1 layer and turn it right side out. And there I've got my eyelid. Then I cut felt piece for the colored part and the iris. And I'm just going to take matching thread and sew perpendicular to the edge and do the same there, the black part. And then I'll put a French knot with white embroidery floss. Then I put them on top of this piece of fabric that was done the same way, sewn all the way around, slit 1 layer on the back and turned, and they're overlapped. I put the eye on top of that colored part, and then I overlap them a little bit. And then the beak is 2.5-inch piece of fabric that's folded like a prairie point, and you can hold it in a little bit like that so that the open edge doesn't show if you want. And then I place it on the back of the 2 pieces of eye and then whip stitch them to the back. Okay, for the center bird who's facing forward, we've placed our number 1 right side away so that all of area 1 is covered. We turn it over machine based where the leaves go into the seam, and that will locate them to this side. Then we'll place our leaves that have been basted together along 1/4 inch past that basting. We'll do it on both sides like that and pin them, and then we'll machine piece these 3. So we'll cut a piece of fabric large enough to cover these areas. We've machine basted where the second set of leaves meet the seam, and that transfers it to this side. And then we're placing another set of leaves 1/4 inch above that line, and then 1/4 inch above that line and the tail. Then we'll cut a piece of fabric large enough to cover this whole area, place it right side down, 1/4 inch above that line, turn it over and sew that whole line. Now we've machine basted where this wing goes into the seam, and that transfers it to this side. Then we'll place the wing and the body 1/4 inch above that line. And we've cut a piece of background fabric large enough for this next piece. Place it right side down above the line, turn it over and sew that whole line, trim the extra of the seam, and it will fold back like that. Once area 5 has been placed, then we're going to machine baste where the top of the owl goes, and it will transfer to this side. Then we'll place these pieces 1/4 inch past that basting again, cut a piece of fabric for the next section out of background, place it right side down above that line, and sew the whole line, trim the extra of the seam, and fold it back. And then these pieces will fold back. We trimmed the outside of the block 1/4 inch past that outside solid line, taken the paper out. Here this piece has been folded back, and then the eye part will be blind stitched like that, and he just comes out darling. Now machine based where the bottom wing that's underneath the body goes here and here, and that will transfer to this side, and then we place the wing so that the raw edges are 1/4 inch, and watch whether it's a wing pointing up or down because the shape changes. Then we machine based where the tail goes into the seam. We're going to place the tail like this 1/4 inch past that basting, and then place a piece of fabric, background fabric, right side down along that edge, machine based this area, and then that tail will flip back. Now we've foundation pieced area 4 with background and folded it back, and now we're going to machine based where the body goes into the seam right there, and then that will transfer to this side. Here's that. Okay, now we'll place the body along that basting and the wing, and you can look on the other side. The placement, the wing comes below the body a little bit. Then we'll cut a piece of background fabric for this area, place it right side down, sew the whole seam, and it will fold back. Now the horns of the owl piece, they flip back, and then this little unit will be blind stitched right there, and he is done. Now we've put our blocks together and added a darling border, and they just pop. They are so cute. By the time I've done my quilting around them, adds to the dimension. I think you'll have fun with this pattern.